Yud Sif Tes. Im To'o the Ifsik said that a person should be very careful, extremely so, not to be mafsik, not to talk between the shalyad and the shalash. If, by mistake, he did talk out, he said a word, what does he do then? Then he should loosen the shalyad again, and he should make a new bracha l'aniyach tefillin, and then he should tighten the nut. In other words, start all over again. Then he should first put on the head, make the bracha on mitzvah tefillin on the head. This is the halacha for us. According to the Zohar, according to the Yerushalmi, according to one day in the Gemara Menachos too, Sfardim, who do not make the bracha on the shalosh at all, if they happen to them, to the Sfardim, then they have to say two brachas on the shalosh. Instead of one on the shalyad, go back to shalyad again, make two brachas on the shalosh. If he talked out, it was because of the tefillin. He motioned to somebody, give me my shalosh, or anything pertaining to that. Pertaining to the tefillin, it's not considered a complete hefsek, enough to have to warrant saying a bracha over again. There's no new bracha. It is wrong, but there's not enough to make a new bracha. Person, what kavanah should he have when he puts on these tefillin, which Hashem commanded us to put on these tefillin, which contain, each one of the tefillin Shiyad Shresh contain the same four pashas, in which are written, the Yichud Shmei is Farach, Hashem is one, Hashem Echad, speaks on Yitzias Mitzrayim. He puts these tefillin on the arm corresponding to the heart, next to the heart, and on the head next to the mayach, next to the brain. So that we should be reminded always of the miracles and wonders that Hashem did to us. These miracles that Hashem did, they are indicative of the oneness of Hashem. Hashem is one, and Hashem has the power, the ruling power, the heavenly worlds and below, to do as he wishes. The person should hand over, should bind in true devotion and service to Hashem his soul, which is contained in his brain, his mind. Also he should bind his heart, which is the seat of all desires and plans. This way he'll always remember his Creator, remember Hashem, and he'll lessen his own pleasures. He'll think more of serving Hashem than of acquiring more pleasures for himself. He'll fulfill the posek. You should not follow the dictates of your heart and your eyes, which lead you to evil. Therefore, we now have revealed to us the secret, the amazing point. Why does the Torah say tefillin of the head should be between your eyes? You put it on a bridge of your nose between your eyes, that's apikoursis, because it's a kaifa. The middle place between your eyes has to be on the forehead. It has to be on the head, rather, above the forehead. So why does it say between your eyes? The answer is that between your eyes means that this will affect your eyes. This should affect that what you have, what your eyes receive, what you see, should be only things that are sacred and holy. You should not look at things that are evil to be drawn to them. And how do you do this? By the tefillin on your head and your brain, which control your eyes. This will be mishamed. It will bind your senses to Hashem, devotion to Hashem. You'll be saved, spared from following the dictates of the Yetzer Hara. One more sif. Today is an off day, so we can take one more. Tefillin shel yad and shalosh statements the same. Menachem Mendel Schneerson. The tefillin of the yad, the hand, and the reish are two separate mitzvahs. They do not have any bearing one upon the other. Meaning, if he happens to have only one tefillin, just the shayat alone, or the shalosh alone, then he can apply. Continue the dinim of tachon. We do not say tachon in the following days. And the shchedish, which will be tomorrow Mitzvah. Tomorrow we have a Shchedesh and Musaf, Hawal Musaf. We don't say the Hamishas of the Av, 15th day of the month of Av. The Gemara says that's one of the greatest holidays the Jews have. It's like in Kippur. In fact, the Jews never had a holiday like Hamishas of the Av. A number of reasons the Gemara gives for what happened on that day. Hamishas of the Shvat, that's the New Year's Day for the trees. Hanukkah, Purim, both days, which means Purim and Shushan Purim, the 14th day of Adar and the 15th day of Adar. Also, we have 2 Adars, leap year, then the actual Purim is called Purim Gadol. The first Adar, which is not Purim, it's just the 14th day of Adar, is called Purim Kot. On all 4 days we do not say Tachnun. Like Bavly, we don't say Tachnun, of course, that's usually Arizal Simula. The entire month of Nisan, which Pesach comes out, we don't say Tachnun because since the first 12 days, the Nesiim, each one brought his korban. The Nesiim means the leaders of the 12 tribes brought a korban each day. The first 12 days. Then we have Pesach coming up. So you have 22 days of the month already as holiday. You might as well pack in the rest of the month. The whole month of Nisan is considered a holiday. Tisha B'Av we don't say Tachnun, because Tisha B'Av knows it's the saddest day of the year, but very ironically, it says in the posek, Kora Olai Boyed, it's called a holiday. A very sad holiday, but it's called a holiday, therefore since the word holiday applies to it, it is a day which you do not say Tachnun. The days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, also we don't say Tachnun, as a term of the Mechadish Books of Mizbeach. Rather than Shchedesh Sivan, that's tomorrow, until after Isru Chag of Shavuos. After Shavuos, Isru Chag is the day after Shavuos. We don't say it for longer than that because there's a din that you're allowed to bring the korban after the holiday for a week. So we don't say it for a week after, until a week after Shavuos. Maybe Isru Chag is Sukkot, we don't say Isru Chag is Sukkot. Our meaning is not to say on the entire balance of the month of Tishrei. All these days, but you don't say Tachnun. You don't say Tachnun also the Mincha the day before. The Mincha before that day, you don't say Tachnun either. For those who say Tachnun Mincha time. But at the Rosh Hashanah, maybe Yom Kippur, you say Tachnun Mincha before them, which we don't do. You don't say Tachnun Rosh Hashanah. You can't say that anymore. At the Rosh Hashanah, we say Slichus. In the morning, we say Slichus in the morning, and in Slichus there is Tachnun. So despite the fact that we say Tachnun in Slichus, we don't say it afterwards in the regular Shachar davening. This is regular days. It's Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays and Thursdays, they are special days in which the tefillahs are especially accepted in heaven. Because why just these 2 days? The Gemara says that the 40 days of Kabbalah, when the nation went up to heaven to receive a kapara for the sin of the golden calf, when he received the second luchais, the second tablets, so he went up to heaven on Thursday, came down on Monday. These are special days. That's why we have additional tefillahs on that day. When we say, right at the Tachnun, we say Menachem. This Menachem is a very special kind of tefillah. It is written that he who does not say Menachem with kavanah, with feeling, doesn't feel a hero there of his sinners, is lacking something in his blood, in his heart. Because the words of Menachem are so heartfelt, there's such pathos in them, any person can be aroused to a deep kavanah in those words. Once it is said too quickly to really feel it. But still, it should be said with kavanah, and as it says in its din, it should be said slowly, in the sidus slowly. A matter of pleading, begging Hashem for Geula, a halting of the tzadik and persecutions of the Jews. This must be said standing in Menachem. The Shulchan brought the shade that he said sitting is considered a death penalty. For some who don't understand why this should be so strict, and yet understand or not, it is actually written. I recall once when there was a question about it, someone ridiculed it. It was ridiculous. There was a big rabbi who saw it written as a sinner, and he said standing is a death penalty. So he said that whoever wrote this thing as sinner was a fool or something like that, to that effect. So I told him, begging your pardon, but whoever wrote the sinner just copied it from the Shulchan. That was a shock to him. And it is written in the Shulchan, the Chaver says it. The Chaver also is not the origin. It goes back to the Shulchan. So that's why be careful to say it's standing. Also, the Tefillah Kiel HaTayim also said standing, which means you remain standing from the beginning of what Acharon till after the Sefer Torah is put on the table. Till after the case of Torah. As we said, these speaking about Tefillah, the Tachdud, the Kavanah. Tefillah is vital, important. Tefillah goes together with Torah. They are a zivig. Torah and Tefillah are a zivig. That's the heavenly zivig. There's Zohar, the Keva, Chassidut, the Kala. Torah is the Baal. Tefillah is the Isha. Heavenly type of zivig. They used to go together to an extent, and Arizal says that one who converts Torah into Tefillah, which means he learns anything in Torah, and then he says in Tefillah about it, God Hashem help me to fulfill what I've just learned, these mitzvahs, this item. So since the creation of the world, there's never been such a pleasure in heaven as that pleasure that Hashem has. The person does that converting Torah to Tefillah. This is we find by Kabbalah. Each covenant says, Isha Neich Lichayach Hashem. You bring a sacrifice, covenant, and so forth. It says this fire offering on the Mizbeach will be a pleasant acceptance, pleasant aroma to Hashem. Which means a certain kind of pleasure to Hashem in this covenant. Why it is, we don't understand. What does Hashem need the covenant? But just that's the pleasure that the person brings himself close to Hashem. The word covenant is to be carried his heart to Hashem. But of all these pleasures that exist, nothing that Menachem says in existence ever brings so much pleasure to Hashem as taking Torah into Tefillah. And therefore, the Rav Zohar dedicated himself to taking the entire Likutei Moharan, the Menachem holiest sefer, and on every single Torah to write on it Likutei Tefillos. The Tefillos, he should be able to fulfill every word of the Menachem in the Torah, making the Tefillos. This sefer is so precious. And it is written that he who lets a day go by without saying a tefillah for this sefer will have to someday pay a penalty for it. Stand trial for this. Because now that we have this, we don't have to work ourselves with the converting, changing the words of tefillah. It also is better for us. That's why this is so precious that we are fortunate in having this sefer already done for us. And as the Moshe Feinstein asked Mashiach, written this sefer, he would ask Mashiach, when are you coming? Mashiach said, when Yafutzu Bayanesecha Chutza, your Sfara will be spread outside, to the outside world, the lower people start all getting your sefer, then I will come, Mashiach said. And we find in the later generations that Asher Kodesh Sfara will spread a lot. We have it all over the world. But in essence, in effect, really, we find that the spreading of Sforim dramatically, in a radical sense, was that of the Arizal. After its nostalgia, so many years have gone by, ordinarily there would be no zecha, no trace left, and yet we find that year by year the spreading of the Sforim becomes greater and greater in number, in volume. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions. Let's say hundreds of thousands for certain. Sforim, Arizal Sforim. So, this is the meaning of what Mashiach said, Yefutzu Bayanesecha, your well, your flow. This Bayah means that which will come for you. It'll be a flow coming for you. Hashem to his grandson. This flow is Nachal Bevei Mekach Chachma. So Menachem name that will be spread out, that will bring Mashiach. And therefore it is Rosenfeld's last words. Time of the Stalkers, he said, concentrate on one thing, spread the Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Tfilos is solid. That's why now we expect to have this done by all of us with gusto, with kavod, to just be zecher to true kedusha for ourselves and future generations. This is mainly serving the purposes of a reminder. Minay yafel of mashmish berik shembaski mitzvah b'kriyas shema. Kishem b'shat b'nei decha, mashmish yafel ishik, kishem b'shat decha, mashmish yafel ishik. It's a very good minhag. It's very right, which means it's required that when you say kriyas shema, the first pasha and the second you say kshatu v'yisa yatacha. Yaakov should touch the tefillin shal yad. Tefillah b'yidecha, the tefillin shal ish. Also, when you say the vayidaber after putting your tefillin, you have also these two psukim there. There too, you should say, you should touch the tefillin shal yad shal ish when you say this posek. The person does something in kedusha, then he should always see that he should continue going up, elevating himself rather than chassidut coming down. So it means that you're doing two mitzvahs. You do the smaller mitzvah first, the bigger mitzvah afterwards. The tefillin shalosh kedushasa gedolah mishal yad. The tefillin of the head are holier than the tefillin of the head. Why? Because it has 4 separate compartments for the 4 pashas. Both tefillin contain exactly the same writing. Tefillin shal yad has all the writing on one single bias, whereas the tefillin shalosh have the pashas on 4 separate buttons, which makes it holier, separate compartments, plus the fact that the tefillin shalosh has the shin inscribed on the bias. Since it is holier, you cannot lower the degree of holiness, so if you had a strap that was used for the shalosh, you cannot switch that over to the shal yad. You want to buy a new strap for the shalosh, take the old one you used for the shalosh and use that for the yad. That's forbidden, because you're lowering the level of kedusha. But if the shal yad, it is permissible to change that into a shalosh, because that's elevating its kedusha. If the strap of the tefillin, the hand was torn, ripped by the knot of the tefillin, the whole thing came off, you cannot turn the entire strap around and use the tip that was used to wind around the fingers now to attach to the tefillin itself. That you could do, switch that some. At the same time, you are now taking the higher part that was attached to the tefillin, letting it down low to where the fingers are. That cannot be done. So you have to make the knot. To do that, it's the side where it was cut off, and there attach it again, the same edge, same corner to the tefillin where it attached before. So first you cannot switch around. The part that was hanging down should now be up inside the kesher. You cannot change around that which was in the kesher. Kesher means the unit by the head. Change that which was, you're switching around the kesher, open it up, make it again, you're going to make it in a different place. Because to elevate a different part of the strap into the kesher, the knot, which is the holiest part of the tefillin, you couldn't. You're changing that into a regular part of the strap, which is forbidden. A kuracha, the reason, a tefillin sack, tefillin bag, which was used to hold tefillin, was made to hold tefillin, and it was used to hold tefillin, then you're never allowed to use that again to hold chulin, to hold money in or your own personal possessions. You have to keep that only for the sake of kedusha. Some unit is supposed to take thrown off while standing. This refers to both the shal yad and the shalosh, or rather both the shalosh and the shal yad. You take the shalosh first. But how is the tefillin taken off? Basis like this, that's why you first take off the knichas that you have wound around the finger, wound around the finger, or base like gimel knichas be'azmaya, 2 or 3 that come off the arm. He takes off first the tefillin of the head, and then the tefillin of the yad. When he puts them on, he puts on the tefillin of the yad first, then the head. If he removes them, he takes off first the next, then the head, then the yad. Why? Because it says, they should be on your head. Because as they should be, that means that as long as you had tefillin on your head, there should be two tefillin on you. You can never have tefillin on your head alone. There must be two. Which means, therefore, that before you put on tefillin on your head, you must have tefillin on your arm already. Before you take off the tefillin on your head, you must take it off first. Because if you take off the yad first, you'll have tefillin on the head alone. Tefillin must always be on the head together with the shayad. Therefore, as we said, therefore you must first put on the yad first and take off the reish first. It calls the man sheyesh alav shalosh to yelakom sheyad. As long as the head is upon him, we should always have the yad. Yesh lachlesh yad shlosh yad keha. You take off the tefillin with the head, you should take it off with your left hand, or if you're lefty with your right hand. You show that it's difficult to take off the tefillin. It means you do it with the hand that's difficult to move it. Show that you regret taking off the tefillin. The mitzvah is sheyihiyu alav tefillin klayan. Because the mitzvah is that you're supposed to have tefillin on the whole day. Now we're taking off the tefillin before the day is over. I can show we're very sad about this point, that we are not fit. We're not holy enough to have this mitzvah done correctly the way it's supposed to be done. So therefore we take off with the left hand to show that we're very sorry we're not able to perform this mitzvah properly. It's forbidden to take off the tefillin in front of the Sefer Torah. In fact, this means in front of the Heichal, in front of the Yom Kodesh. If you want to take it in front of the Yom Kodesh, you have to turn away, or cover your head, take off the tefillin. Well, the best thing is to turn to a side. You shouldn't take it off in front of the Yom Kodesh, not in front of this Rebbe, but to a side. The reason for this thing is that you're not supposed to go without a hat completely, reveal your head. So, since you have to take off the yarmulke or the hat to take off the tefillin, at that moment, turn to a side where you're not seen by the heichal. Bidding Aharon l'nashik tefillin b'shas and chasam b'shas v'yitzos. Bidding Aharon tzadikim is to kiss the tefillin both when you're about to put them on and when you take it off. Show again the chibur of mitzvah. Show this deep ahava for mitzvah Hashem. Every mitzvah is precious. That's why we show this by the Mishnah. Eight houses and towels of the Yaakov is a tefillin. You take off the tefillin first, you remove the talus after the tefillin, take it off and not before. See, so follow. The person places the tefillin back into the tefillin bag, tefillin sack. You should place them in the manner where he knows that the next morning he will first take out the tefillin shayad. But he should not place the shayad on top of the shalosh. In other words, that he will be sure of taking out shayad first. But he cannot do that because the shalosh is a higher kedusha, greater holiness than the shayad. So he can't place the shayad on top of it. Menachem Mendel Schneerson. You should place one next to the other, no matter where he'll reach for the shayad first. Then place this inside the large talus bag, inside, so that the talus will come out first. You wouldn't have to take the tefillin out first by accident, and then have to put it on before the talus. If he does take the tefillin out first, he must put the tefillin on before the talus. The proper way, of course, is to put on the talus first, and then the tefillin. The person does not have tefillin at the moment. The tzibur is davening. Mutter she is akev ad yachat tefillin 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 yachat. And she could finish more of his spouse mess with tefillin. It is better that he wait until the tefillin comes, even though he'll lose out on davening with tefillin tzibur. But if he had a davening without tefillin at all, davening knish without tefillin, it is better to daven the achilus later with tefillin than to daven the tzibur without tefillin. This is for a person who knows to get tefillin returned before the zman is over. Person who's afraid that the time of Kriya Shema will end before he gets his tefillin, but he must say Kriya Shema without tefillin. He's afraid that the Zman Tefillah will also end before he gets his tefillin. He must also daven without tefillin. So that's the two. But if later in the day he happens to get a pair of tefillin, then he should put on the tefillin with brachas and say something with them. He could put a tefillin or something, or he should daven with the tefillin. But at night, if he has tefillin at night, then it's too late. Because at night is not the zman of tefillah. It's forbidden to put on tefillin at night. What if a person comes to shul and he has no tefillin, and there is a pair of tefillin lying there, belong to somebody else? The question is it klal gadol, a pashayo, lemidas gazan having? One who borrows without the knowledge, without permission of the owner, is considered a gazlan. It's considered stealing. It's considered stealing. You're not allowed to borrow without permission. The same person who steals is also borrowing without permission. Borrow with the intent of repaying and not repaying is the same thing. Another pshat, we said once, of Shlosh Lamidas, Shlosh is borrow and Shlosh is to ask. One who asks a kasha, Shlosh Lamidas without seichel, gazlan. Also a gazlan. You have to have seichel when you ask a kasha. But still we see from here that this is an actual limit. You're not allowed to borrow without permission. And what if you come to shul, the owner is not there, the owner finished davening, left his tefillin in the shul, you come there, you have no tefillin, you have no tefillin, you have to put on tefillin. Can you borrow these tefillin without rishus? Yes. Okay. In reference to putting out tefillin on Chalamayid, there is in Machlekes HaFaiskin, debate among the rabbis of the Shulchan Aruch, different types of customs in reference to this. There are some places, some cities, sections that hold like those posek will say you should not put on tefillin for Chalamayid. Some will hold that the custom is that do. But they don't make a bracha in a loud voice like they do the rest of the days of the year. In other words, they do make a bracha, but they don't say it out loud. There are some who put on tefillin Chalamayid without a bracha at all. He has to have kavanah that if Chalamayid is not the time for tefillin, so it's like Shabbos. So what is he putting on? He's putting on just plain straps, but nothing, no tefillin. Even though he doesn't say a bracha, that's what's nothing from the head to the head. Like Kaddish Kedushi Yafsik. But the Kaddish Kedushi he should be Yafsik. Tikuney Zohar should be spalled as this is Echad Yechad. You should be careful that if you have different people davening in the shul, a group davening in the shul, there should not be some who put on tefillin and some who don't put on tefillin. Because the shul in this case, which means you should not have an inner conflict among you. It wouldn't be nice if some put on tefillin and some don't put on tefillin. It's like a battle there in the shul itself. This is what the Shulchan says himself. You feel this is his own posek. Of course, the Halacha L'Maisa, we know that a lot of poskim will consider the Zohar Kodesh and the Arizal as the last word in posek. In fact, even if elsewhere the Din says, Shulchan says that we take the Din of the Gemara or the Din of Shulchan over the Din of the Zohar Kodesh. In this case, when the risk is so great, Yerushalmi Arizal says b'feinish that one who puts on tefillin and Chalamayid is Kitola Chayav, Bakatolahu, it's Chayav Misa. So great a sin it is. Why? Because this shows that he belittles, he rejects true crown of Hashem. The mashal that is given there is that a king gave his servant his crown, a copy of his crown, and this copy is very precious. So one day the king came and visited the servant and gave him his actual crown. So if the servant refuses the actual crown and wears the copy, it shows disrespect. It shows a rebellion against the king. The actual crown of Hashem, the actual ice is Shabbos, Yom Tov. The ice of Shabbos. A copy of this, the weekdays we have tefillin. And when we have the actual crown itself, where you have the word ice, which is on Shabbos, and Yom Tov, and Chol HaMoed, we have that word ice. So therefore, since Chol HaMoed is the same as Shabbos and Yom Tov, Kanod till then shows the belittling of the crown of Hashem, and therefore is Chai Bisa. That's why, without a question of doubt, we, Baruch Hashem, have no doubt in this case that on Chol HaMoed it's not a question of custom; it's a question of definite Bisa. It's absolutely osur to think of even of wearing tefillin on Chol HaMoed. Those who has brought also further discussions in Arizal, those who put on tefillin on Chol HaMoed, what's their reason? They base it on they did it in the Rishonim. The Rishonim who say that you have to put on tefillin on Chol HaMoed according to certain halachas. But they say that undoubtedly this is absolute. If these Rishonim had seen the Zayda Kodesh, they would surely, unquestionably, they would surely have admitted to that tefillin should not be worn on Chol HaMoed. They themselves would not put on tefillin on Chol HaMoed. However, tefillin should also give attachments to the Jewish calls Menachem Mendel Schneerson tefillin that we know are kosher. In other words, they had been examined previously, and the bottom are in perfect condition, the outsides. So we could surmise, we could assume that the insides, the pashas, are in good condition too. Nothing happened to them. They don't require examination. Still, it's better, if possible, to examine the tefillin every once in a while. And the problem is because sometimes they get spoiled, the writing gets spoiled because the perspiration seeps in, and it's damp, and it erases even one drop of a letter, it's finished. If he doesn't put on tefillin, these tefillin, often, once in a while, then he surely has to have bedika. The time for bedika is twice in 7 years for those tefillin which were not put on often. There are some people who get this deal, they call out in context, you can tell twice in 7 years. That's not true. Twice in 7 years are only for those tefillin that are put away in the closet and are taken out intermittently once in a while. Ordinarily, there's no halacha of a definite requirement of bedika at a given time. There are some who say the young yamima, it's good to be better till once a year. These are all, there wasn't advice. There is no chiyuv in writing tefillin, actually, it's just advisable. So you average once in 7 years. It's a good average for me. Especially if an accident happened, if the bias, the strings tore or they fell into. Starting Wednesday, the Chodesh Sivan until after Shavuos, till a week after Shavuos, we don't say Tachnun. But there are a number of very important items to know about Tachnun. Some very interesting details that are mentioned in the Zohar Kodesh, secrets of Tachnun, plus Dinim, halachas. Let's try to cover what we can. So the number of items. Rabbi Arizal too speaks about Tachnun and try to get as much as possible. After Shemona Esrei, immediately after Shemona Esrei, you say Tachnun. Filas HaPayim means that when you say that capital, you have your head, your forehead down on your forearm while it's being said. You're not allowed to speak anything, talk out between Shemona Esrei and Tachnun. The minute you finish this, you have to try to avoid talking at all until you finish Tachnun, because this spoils the effect of Tachnun. What is the effect of Tachnun? According to Arizal, the person rises. There are 4 levels, Kedusha, 4 worlds they're called. Each section of tefillah, a person goes up to that next level. The Shemona Esrei corresponds to the highest level. After Shemona Esrei, a person is supposed to get all his sins erased completely through Tachnun, because this means that it's Mesiras Nefesh. When you put your forehead down, it is as though you are transferring your neshama to Hashem. You're giving your life for the sake of Hashem. An act like that erases all sins from a person. Now this is possible only if a person is still in that same high level, Atzilus. But if he has left there, the minute you talk out, it means you've cut yourself off of that section, you've got it. Proof of this is, the Gemara says that Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, recall a story where he argued with the Chachamim about the dinim of a certain type of oven, and the Chachamim put him in cherem. Now he felt so broken-hearted that tzadik, Menachem Mendel was so great that if he would say one word against any one of the Chachamim, they would die. Especially against who? The Nasi. I mean, Eliyahu was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin. Eliyahu was the one who had the authority to proclaim his chayim. So Eliyahu's life was in danger. At what point could Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol have caused the death of Rabbi Eliyahu while saying Tachnun? Because the last words of Tachnun, because we say, it doesn't matter, the point is that any chapter we say, Tachnun has that power, but the last words we have, Menachem says the last four words are Oivai Yeshuvu Yeveshu Roga in Tachnun, which means my enemies should have a downfall. Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol's wife was Rabbi Eliyahu's sister. She feared for her brother's life, so she constantly came into Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, got him, forced him to say something between Shemona Esrei and Tachnun. This spoiled the effects of being able to take Rabbi Eliezer's life. One day the Gemara says that a poor man came to the door, and she was occupied with him for a moment. She ran inside, she found Eliezer HaGadol was already saying Tachnun. She screamed out, "You have killed my brother." At that moment they heard news that Eliyahu was the star. This is the kiruv of Tachnun. The importance of, as we said, not to talk between the two. Arizal says if a person has enemies, specifically, this means, of course, not Jewish enemies. It means the Arabs, the Goyim, to say Tachnun with kavanah, especially during 1 month of the year. The month of Iyar especially, that's when you have the power to destroy your enemies, because the last four words, Oivai Yeshuvu Yeveshu Roga, the enemy should be destroyed. The first letters are the word Iyar. That's this present Hebrew month we have now. We are now in Iyar. We have 2 days left in this month. We concentrate on Tachnun, at the Goyim, the United Nations, not just the building, but all the United Nations, seeking to the ground to be zecher to see the Mapala of our enemies. Sif Beis B'Shachas Kivu Sheyesh Tefillin B'Smeilei Neitan Outside Yemim. B'Shachas, actually, you don't see much around here, but you have to say Tachnun, Shachas, and Mincha. You don't, like shuls, they say Tachnun for Mincha also. Shachas, since you have tefillin on your left hand, therefore Neitan Outside Yemim. You should cover that tefillin. Mincha Neitan Outside Yemim. Of course, when you cover the tefillin, you don't fall Tachnun on your tefillin. So in order to tefillin, you fall Tachnun, you place your forehead on your right hand. But in Mincha, when you don't have tefillin on, then you go Tachnun with the left hand. That's what it says. In this there is a machlokes chaber, the Sifrei Kabbalah, and it's interesting to know this machlokes. Some who say that you're supposed to fall Tachnun always on the left hand, regardless. Sfarad, meaning Sfarad is, like in the chaber, you know, always fall on the left hand. Others say after the right hand. here he passes like the right hand. But according to the Mechaber, according to many specific Amor, of course, it's on the left hand. Now, those who are left-handed have no problem. You put tefillin on your right hand, automatically it's on the left hand. There's no question. So you fall tachlit on the left hand always. Those who are right-handed, when the tefillin is on the left hand, you have this problem, this question indeed. Do you fall tachlit on the right or the left? Now we have a din Shulchan here which says very clearly you fall tachlit on your right hand. So the din is very clear, yet at the same time it's not that simple. Because we have a sort of nebucha, a complex problem from Rabbi Arizal's story. Rabbi Arizal says, this is our rights. Rabbi Arizal said, one day came to him a vision, that the tachlit should be done on the left hand, not on the right. Shabbos. It's heavily vision capable. What are they past them? So that's all it says there. It's vision capable. The Arizal saying the tachlit should be done on the left hand, not on the right. Not on the right, as is the custom. That's the word. As is the custom, not on the right. And the question is, what does that mean? Does that mean that the custom is on the right, and therefore should be changed to the left? Or, because of this, it made us amend that we do it on the left hand. This is a question, problematic. It's not, the words are that we cannot tell clarity. The stranger is that there's no strangest. If this was, say, 2,000 years ago, the Gemara says about tzitzis, they couldn't tell. But they may say midbar. But this is so recent. Isn't there someone who saw what the Rabbi Arizal did himself? If there's no clear report, what did the Arizal do? That's where he's still closer. That's a little over 100 years ago. No one who has a clear report, and therefore we have this conflict from within. For a son whose custom it is, the Me'achayim, for instance, knows this. Let's go back to earlier. Rav of Breslov and the Kutim, two leaders of past generation. One held tachlit on the left, like the Breslov held tachlit on the right. So that for us, we follow like the Breslov. At least that much we know. It's safe. We're very safe there. Me'achayim today, who's a Talmud of the other one, in order to be on the safe side, what he does is he puts both hands down like this, so you can't tell which hand he's putting his forehead on. In any event, it is remains a mystery what the final outcome is, but at least we are safe in following the Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That leaves us without a doubt. It's important to know, though, about this machlokes and this dilemma. Gimel, tonight is Sunday, so we have very much time, just another 2-3 minutes. Filas Apayim yesh to yes, but you should have shouted Hagi Hil yes Gabilah. And the Filas Apayim, you have to sit down. You must sit down before you put your forehead on your arm, your forearm, but if you cannot find a seat, you may do it standing. It may be done standing. That's if you cannot find a seat. It's better, of course, if you are sitting. This is something which it seems that everyone should know about this, because yet there are so few who do this properly. When you finish saying tachlit, you finish having your forehead on your arm, then you say afterwards, Hashem Yisrael, you go on to now, when you get to the next words, at the word manaseh, that's when you must stand up. He doesn't say here, but this is you're supposed to stand up and say manaseh a little bit louder than the other words. Stand up with the words manaseh, saying it out loud. And then we finish the rest in a standing position. This is the only proper way to say tachlit, to finish a tachlit. Shemi Yisrael, you remain seated until Menachem Mendel. At the word Manaseh, you stand up saying it loud, you finish Tachnun, finish the rest of that paragraph while standing. Now this should be corrected. Once, you do it once, twice, when you get to the habit, you know that the rest of your life you're doing it exactly properly, right? Though, you will find that there are very few people who are aware of this did. Why they are not is strange, because usually those that are written in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, every child learns, every balabas learns this, get this strange aura about this. In any event, let's get this done properly and right. We should be zecher to accomplish what this tefillah, what we're supposed to accomplish. See the BS girl saying ahead of me. You do not have the filas apayim. You say tachnun. You say it everywhere, but you can't go down, face on your forearm. You're not allowed. It's called falling down. You fall down. It's like deserting because the person falls down dead. He pretends he's dead, and he fools the Malach HaMavis that way. That's how his life is saved. That's called Mesilas Nefesh. So you cannot fall down on your face, except in a place where there is a Sefer Torah. If you're davening at home, Chas v'Chalila, Yechidus, that's another thing you lose. You can't even have a filas of pain. Only the place where there is a Sefer Torah. Aval v'Mokem sheisham Sefer Torah, Avi sheisham Sefer Kodesh. That's not pain. But in case you're in a place where there's no Sefer Torah, even if there are Sforim like Chumashim, Gemaras, you cannot fall on your face, but you do say the same thing standing up without falling on your face. This is pessimistic. You're davening in the yard of the shul, and the opening of the shul is open, so it's just as though you're in a place where there's a Sefer Torah. Which means when you're outside of the shul, the yard, but you can see inside the shul where the Sefer Torah is. So you're, let's say, in the shul itself, like this room, there's no Sefer Torah here, but you're in the shul, there is a Sefer Torah. Of course, you could have the filas apayim. Zion, Sif Zion. This is important. We won't have too much of a chance for this, but we do not say tachnun in the shul where there is a chassan all 7 days of the Yemei Mishta Shalai. That's if the chassan is a bachor or the kala is a psula. In other words, the first marriage for either the chassan or the kala. And surely if it's a both. But if both of them, second marriage of both, a widow marries a widower, then it's only 3 days. But for the day of the chuppah itself, which means they expect to get married that evening, on that day you do say tachnun. Because there's no yontif until after the chuppah. Once the chuppah has taken place, then it's a yontif. Until after the chuppah, you don't know whether you're going to get. Once you've got it, then there's no more tachnun, because we also have a house of an ovel, a house where there's mourning, you don't say tachnun either. There must be some kind of a, there it's Shiva Yimei Avelis, and here it's Shiva Yimei. Must be something similar about it, because it is brought that there is a similarity. Funeral, only one is buried, here two of them. Yemis though, it's there is a tikkun, the Arizal brings that this is called tikkun haponim. Tikkun haponim, Shiva Avelis, and Shiva Yimei. Tikkun haponim, therefore this is the filas haponim. There's a definite point there. Also, in a shul where there is a bris milah, which means not that the bris is taking place in the shul, but either the father of the child, or the tzadik, or the male, are davening in that minyan, and we cannot say tachnun, even though the bris takes place in a different house. When this capital you call Avenish, you call a Chesed, is Chodesh. There are places where it's customary to fast every Avenish Chodesh. And they say the Yom Kippur Katan. Avenish Chodesh is called small Yom Kippur. Just like Yom Kippur forgives for the entire year, there's 1 day for the entire year. That's how there is 1 day for the entire month. It's a small Yom Kippur. Miniature Yom Kippur, because it forgives for 1/12 of the year, in which all these sins of the month are forgiven for one who does Teshuva then. This is similar to the So'id. There's a special korban on the Chodesh. The korban is called the So'id of the Chodesh. Special goat, which acts as a covenant to forgive the sins of the Jews. Today we haven't got the basic English or the Mizbeach, covenant. What do we have in their stead? We have an Shalmo Kodim Svosenu. Let our mouths pay Hashem with these covenants, which means that tefillos av shchedesh are in place of the covenant. And that's why we find in Musaf the words Zaman Kapora L'chol Todesu. This is a time for forgiveness for all Jews. Each place according to his custom. They can't do fast and the shchedesh, at least they should try to say keep the cotton. Then it's yourself, of course. You see that they all say to keep the cotton. Here it's practically unheard of, except in certain sections, but it would be good to visit that. That's said for mincha and of the shchedesh. People are at work and business, then it's a little difficult. Very good custom to install. Mitzvah lahadbais besuta b'shchedesh. It is a mitzvah to have a special increase, special food, the meal of the shchedesh. To show that the shchedesh is a yontiv, not a regular weekday. Even if it comes out on Shabbos, when you have a regular Shabbos meal, you should still show it to the shchedesh by adding an additional course to the meal. You should indicate that it's a shchedesh even on Shabbos. But certainly in the middle of the week, you should have a special feast, because the shchedesh is called a holiday, the same as Shabbos. In fact, according to the Zohar, the shchedesh is a bigger holiday than all the other Yom-Tov, because Gehenna, the fires of Gehenna are extinguished. They rest on Shabbos. They do not rest completely on Yom Tov, but on the shchedesh they rest completely. The shchedesh and Shabbos are the two times. Shabbos and Shchedesh are 2 times when the fires of Gehenna rest. So big a holiday is it, and therefore we symbolize it with a special meal. Now this meal should consist of meat, a meat meal. That is a non-dairy meal. And in the winter time, we have it in the evening of the shchedesh, when the days are short. So 6 o'clock, supper time, it's already the night of the shchedesh. Last night, days are long. You could eat, it doesn't get dark until after 9 o'clock. And actually, you cannot have the shchedesh meal then, unless you eat a very light supper. If you haven't got the meat meal last night, you should attempt to have it either this afternoon or tonight. Tonight meaning not tonight, but today, before it gets dark. Which means before 8 o'clock today. To be Yitzhak with supper time before 8 o'clock with meat, to enter the meal of the shchedesh. The shchedesh with the basiyas malacha, the shchedesh is permissible to do work. Though it's a holiday, other holidays you're not allowed to do any work. The shchedesh is permissible, and women know, customary, that they do not do any work on this day. It's a very good thing. They should not take it lightly. It is said, because this is a Gemara in Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi says that Nosson is like what of the shchedesh. It's a Lashon. It's a good meaning because the holiday of the shchedesh, this major holiday, was given. Notice men do work, men do everything, women don't. Why? Because this holiday was given to women as a gift by Hashem. It's your holiday, Hashem said to women, because when it came to the golden calf, the men went for it. Women were the only ones who were pure at that time. They didn't go for the worshiping the golden calf. For this, they received a gift of the holiday shchedesh belonging to them. Again, it shows the emunah that women have a sense from it. Hallel must be said standing only. You're not allowed to talk out in the middle of Hallel at all. After Hallel, we say Kaddish Shalom. We take out the Sefer Torah. We read 4 people read the Torah on the shchedesh Kriya in the Pasha of Pinchas, dealing with the shchedesh. This is the one special time when we repeat a posek. The second one called up repeats one of the sentences of the last sentence of the first one called up, in order to enable us to have the number quite of that passion.